Hello, Grace.
Hello.
So it's time for you to do the interview for the lockdown series. So I'm interviewing you for this one. And I usually start by asking people to explain what it is they do. And I've got a slightly different version of that question for you. I want you to see if you can explain to people what Henry and Henry is all about, which is quite a challenge at the moment because we're in a limbo situation. So what do you want to suggest to people that we are?
Okay, so I'm one half of Henry and Henry, Graham, and I'm talking to the other half right now, Annette. We've formulated our kind of business relationship, if you like, about 4 years ago. Started out doing really focusing on raw food, and also at the time you were coaching meditation, and we kind of decided that this was a direction we wanted to go into more kind of holistic end of the spectrum. And we decided about just over a year ago, that it would be useful if we were to be educated a little bit more deeply in plant-based nutrition, because it would give us the knowledge and confidence to underpin the messages we were wanting to put across about the benefits of eating a plant-based diet. So that's what we did. We both enrolled on an intensive year-long course, which is, because we're not quite finished yet, almost there.
Yeah.
Being led by two California-based raw food nutrition educators who also work as consultants. And what we've learned, frankly, over the last 12 months has been absolutely fantastic. So we've brought that to bear to some degree in our business already, in terms of the classes that we give, and also meals that we were preparing for people based on plant-based food, primarily raw plant-based food. And we then decided, having traveled to Berlin last year, just fell in love with the city, a city that you know well, of course, because you've lived there before and you've taught there, taught English and German.
It was different then. It was very different then. The wall was still there.
This was the Mecca, if you like, that we were looking for. And sorry, I lost the connection there a little bit. I don't know quite what happened there, but hopefully you can still hear me.
Okay, yes, I can still hear you.
Good. So we realized that this was the place that we've been looking for, because Berlin has got a fantastic plant-based scene, very, very well known for its vegan cafes, etc. And there seems to be a big movement of people who are involved in the plant-based lifestyle. So we felt that this was a place that really spoke to us, and we thought this is where we want to be. We felt that we would have a bigger audience for what we want to do. And so around about March, we decided that it would make sense to actually put our house on the market and begin the process of actually thinking about moving over to Berlin. Something we have to do really this year as well, because of the Brexit and the transition phase, to actually live there and retain the same rights. Of course, we need to do that this year. And then what happened?
It's currently July, yes.
So the pandemic really put a hold on our plans. We decided to put our business temporarily to bed in April at the end of the last financial year, which was a logical time to do it anyway. So it's quite ironic, really, that as soon as we went into lockdown, we kind of just started to wind down our business anyway. So it kind of came at I wouldn't say convenient time, because it's not something I would call convenient, but an opportune time, I suppose, to kind of like put things to one side and just really kind of review, okay, where are we? What do we want to do? And I think that both of us also realized in that process that the importance of eating well has really come to the fore, and particularly eating a very plant-based diet, which has a lot of benefits and advantages, and reducing or eliminating meat from the diet was probably also something that would also, a lot of people I think have come to a realization it might not be a bad thing as well. So it kind of answers really, or it meets where we are So I think for us, I think it's been a very strange time. It's been a very odd time, but the feeling that what we're doing, that we're on the right path, and we're both very passionate about wanting to inspire others to do the same and to transition to a more plant-based diet. But we want them to do it well. We want them to actually realize, how do you get the best nutrition? What are the pitfalls? What are the challenges? How do you eat well, and how do you thrive on a plant-based diet? And that's where we come in.
Yeah, brilliant.
So that's quite a long answer, maybe.
That's all right. That's what I was rather hoping for. You may have partially answered this, or maybe not. I don't want to preempt it. But what's characterized lockdown for you in months or years ahead? When you look back at this period, what will spring up as being a big thing, that, or a constant thing, whatever's the issue that's uppermost in your mind?
It's really, I think it's a mixture of things. I mean, initially there was the kind of fear, what does this mean? What's going to happen? Are we going to catch this virus? Are we going to be able to survive? I think that's the kind of thing that was going on in a lot of people's minds. It was that rabbit in the headlights period, where you used to wake up in the morning and everything momentarily seemed fine, and then suddenly, bang, it hit you. The world's changed. How are we going to cope with it? But that began to dissipate gradually as I think humans are great at becoming accustomed to situations. We have this inbuilt survival mechanism where something might seem very challenging, but then we actually learn how to deal with it, and we become more used to it. And I think that happened to us as well. And it was also the realization that there's a whole world out there that we'd never really properly appreciated. It was the quietness, the tranquility, the nature. Suddenly we were actually in a situation where there wasn't a great deal we could do other than actually just appreciate what was on our doorstep, because we were confined, obviously, in terms of distance to how far we could go. And we're very fortunate where we live, that we do live very close to some really nice areas that we can walk to. And I think both of us in that time absolutely loved the peace and getting out into nature. And I think it's really brought it home to me how much, as a species, if you like, we've lost touch. We've lost that connection with nature. And I really, really will take that always with me. Whatever happens from here on, that period can never be removed. And it made me really tap into that beautiful aspect of the world that's never gone away, but we've just failed to actually notice it. And that for me is like, I just love it.
Yeah, super. Obviously, I share a lot of that as well, as you know. Do you think this period has inspired any greater shifts towards greater health consciousness?
I think for me personally, I think it's only reinforced the importance of being healthy, the importance of looking after yourself in terms of how do you eat, getting plenty of sleep, obviously plenty of exercise, and learning how to relax and learning how to appreciate the more simple things rather than running around getting stressed, getting the cortisol levels raised in your body, which unfortunately is how we tend to live our lives these days. And it's made me realize that live every moment as if it's your last, in a sense, because life is short, and I think we owe it to ourselves to actually get the most out of it. So I think it's a case of do what you want today rather than put it off. I know it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but I think so many people do put things on the back burner because they have more immediate priorities that perhaps are there because they've not really considered more widely what they want to do, or it's maybe out of fear, it may be out of inertia, it may be out of family pressures, but each and every one of us has the ability to change that. And I think, yes, it needs some courage. And I think moving country at the ages we are suddenly and just uprooting needs courage as well. And I think we're both, it's something that we've thought of a lot. And yes, it's something that scares us a little bit, but it's something we really want to do. And I think for me, it's made me realize just carpe diem.
Yeah. What do you think is the bigger picture here? Do you think, excuse me, there's greater emphasis on health consciousness from the wider public? Because obviously we know what's been exacerbating the experience for people who've got the coronavirus. Has that created a greater health consciousness, do you think? I mean, we can only guess at this, but I just wonder what your take is.
I'd like to hope it has. I mean, we've all heard and read in the media or heard on the TV about the comorbidities and the fact that people seem to be more susceptible to to getting the virus, or probably more accurately to actually getting into difficulties when having the virus if they have the underlying health conditions. And of course, a lot of those underlying health conditions are what we classify as lifestyle conditions, things like high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, and chronic inflammation, a lot of which can be a result of just the way we've lived our lives, unhealthy diets, etc. So I think, yes, I think people are becoming more aware of it. Even the government has begun to make very preliminary steps to try and change things and make junk food more difficult to, certainly affecting looking at advertising of junk food, etc. And I think that should have been done long ago. I think a lot of people will become more aware. I think people have begun cooking and preparing food more at home rather than resorting to buying just convenience food, ready-made food, processed food. Of course, a lot of people will still be continuing to do that, and they've got to make their own choices. But hopefully we will begin to see the benefits of this in years to come. And that will be really interesting, actually, to see in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, how the health of the nation or nations across the world have been changed as a result of this virus, because of realizations that that perhaps they've been doing it the wrong way. And time will tell.
Yes, it will. Yeah. How does the phrase "back to normal" sit with you?
Back to normal. Yeah. It was quite interesting that as soon as the lockdown was relaxed, I was gritting my teeth and waiting, thinking, what's this going to feel like? Because the idea of suddenly the levels of traffic, the levels of pollution increasing was something that I feared, in a sense. And unfortunately, that has actually started to happen. Things do seem to have gone, in some ways, back to normal. And it makes me feel very sad that we've been given this unique opportunity to review the way we live our lives. We've seen the beauty that can be there, and yet there is a tendency to go back to what we were doing beforehand, and you wonder, will we ever learn? I personally don't want us to go back to what was considered to be normal. I think that we've got the opportunity to really live in a way that is much more sustainable and much more healthy. And I think that there are sufficient people who are going to heed that message that will enable change to happen. But it needs to happen quickly if this planet is going to be habitable for us. So, no, I don't want us to go back to normal. I want us to have a different way of living. I'm not going to say a new normal, because I don't like that phrase. This is I think it's moving to a new paradigm. It's moving to a new way of living. And I really pray for that. I really hope that will happen. We can all play our part in that happening as well. It's Absolutely. Not up to us to leave it to the politicians to decide. It's up to us. It's up to us as human beings on the planet to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That links in very well to my next question, which is, what's your hopes for humanity? It's quite a big question.
Well, I hope that we can survive as a species, but survive in a way that also enables other living creatures on the planet to survive. In fact, we can't live without them. We can't live without the insects, we can't live without bees. We're just creating mass destruction in the world through the way that we live our lives, through the pollution that we're causing, and of course through the changes to the climate that we're seeing. Yeah. So my hope for the planet is that we will actually change the way we live. But I think that, as I said earlier, it needs to happen now. It can't be deferred, and that's the biggest challenge that we face as human beings, that a lot of us are not prepared to make sacrifices in favor of the material things in life that we enjoy. And I think we really have to do that. I think we've got to really wake up and be more conscious and really make those changes.
Yeah. And what role do you want to play in that?
I'd like us to inspire people to do things differently. I don't think it doesn't work through coercion. That begins to sound selfish as well, because you're making other people fit in with the way that you want to do things. Everybody's got a choice. Everybody has to be given a choice. But if you can demonstrate to people the benefits of doing something in a certain way, and they see that for themselves, and they decide that that's actually something they want to be part of, then to me that's achieving something that's fantastic. So if we can inspire people through the way that you eat, I guess that's where we come in, and do it well in a way that's good for you and good for the planet, then that's really where I'd like to be.
Great. I usually round off by asking people how we can best get in contact with them. What do you suggest for us? Because obviously we're not an up and running business at this point, but we certainly would love to stay in contact with all the people who we've known in this area and in Britain generally. What do you suggest they do?
Well, I think that, when we say that we're not actually functioning as a business at the moment, we're not just a business. We're more than a business. It's about our passion, and we're always there to help people and give recommendations. And it's not purely financially based what we're doing. Of course, we need to live, and it would be nice to be able to make this work as a viable business as well. But I think we both love helping people and giving people advice and information, and therefore we have a Facebook site, Henry and Henry. We also are on Instagram, and we have a Twitter presence as well, and we have a website. Our website is henryandhenryeu.com, and you can reach us by email as well, which is henryandhenryeurope@gmail.com. Bit of a theme there, EU and Europe. So I think the other things we can put in the message we send out with this video.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. But we'd love to hear from anyone that's interested to know more about what we're doing.
Yes, I think we certainly will.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's been great. I've enjoyed it just as much as the other ones. So thank you for doing that. And I'll put my glasses on and see if I can find the right button to turn off the record.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.